the water cooler. Can you hear me? Thank you. Okay. All right, if this is too much.
Can you guys hear me in the back?
Hello.
We can if nobody else talks. Yeah.
Okay, so be like Lake, don't talk. Yeah, no. That doesn't mean talking battle cry. Yeah. Okay. All right, well, my voice is going to hate me after this, but at least I know maybe he doesn't do it until tomorrow. So, all right. Hey, listen! All right, guys. Well, I am Veneficus Magister of VM Cosplay Productions. You can call me Cam. This is my tech guy, Scott. Also my fiance. So, you know, yeah. When you came to the masquerade here, what, 2 years ago? 3? 2 years ago, I think. I don't know. He was the guy that proposed to me when I was in Lucina. So, in case anybody actually saw that, probably not. I don't know. Anyway, so welcome to Lore in the Zelda universe. Woo! Yeah! We have a really quick introduction here. We're going to be talking a little bit about just like the various kind of like basically the mythology of the Zelda universe. Now, we're not saying like real world application, but just like kind of like basically what is the theology, what is the mythology of the Zelda universe, whether it's Hyrule, Termina, the Great Sea, Twilight Realm,
Breath of the Wild.
I don't even want to talk about it. Breath of the Wild, I mean, we don't know enough about it for me to really say anything, so... I don't know. I mean, like, Ray can't cook, apparently.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild has voice actors.
Yeah. All right, so, does anybody have any questions before we get started? Like, what is this going to be about or anything? Make sure you're in the right place. A hush falls over the crowd. Okay, well... I guess we'll go ahead and start. You want to pull up the, I think the Golden Goddesses will be our first one. Yeah. Make sure it's not the hidden file. Okay. Alright, there we go. Okay, we're going to start with our 3 most well-known, Din, Faror, and Nayru. That's how I pronounce them. Up until Breath of the Wild, Zelda doesn't have voice acting, so how do we pronounce anything? I don't know why after Skyward Sword they're like, oh yeah, we're probably not going to include voice acting Breath of the Wild. Boom! Wake up! Alright, anyway, so for a quick recap, most of you probably already know the story of the Triforce, but we have Din, the goddess of power, Nayru, the goddess of wisdom, and Faror, the goddess of courage. They came down to the chaos that was going to become the kingdom of Hyrule. Din created the red earth with her strong flaming arms. Yeah. Nayru poured her wisdom onto the world, created the spirit of law. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but apparently she made Sty. I don't know. And then Faror made bugs and all of the other, you know, crazy creatures that we see. I guess that means she created monsters too? Thanks. Faror, goddess of courage.
Let me teach you the power of courage by showing you how to run away.
Fair enough. All right, so the 3 goddesses, after their labors were completed, they decided they were going to depart for the heavens, and at the point where they disappeared, the Triforce was left, the perfect balance of power, wisdom, and courage. It's a really weird trio of virtues to have, but whatever. And they then decided that the place that the Triforce would come to rest would be known as the Spirit Realm.
The
Sacred Realm, Spirit Realm. I'm sorry.
There's so many of them.
I'm sorry, yeah, Spirit Realm.
We're going to the
Sacred
Shadow
Realm,
Realm.
Silent Realm, Twilight Realm, Dark World. I don't know. Okay, yeah.
In
Anyway.
Breath of the Wild, there will be a donut realm.
All right, so the Triforce. Again, the perfect balance of power, wisdom, and courage. If you touch it and you have all 3 virtues in line in your heart, then you gain the true force to govern all. If you have a good heart, then it will turn Hyrule into a land of prosperity. If you have an evil heart, then Hyrule is screwed. Again, and again, and again. So, however, if your heart is not in balance, then your Triforce will decide that it goes, nah, and it splits into pieces. So, and then those just chosen by destiny get the other two pieces, you are left with the one that you most believe in. Apparently Gandalf didn't study that, because all he got was power. Never thought that, you know, the girl the game is named after or the main hero would be important. He had so many opportunities. Didn't take them. Alright, so, we have the Triforce of Hyrule. Basically, this is what everything in Hyrule seems to be based off of. The goddesses left it in the care of the goddess Hylia, who seems to be mostly the caretaker of the mortal world. We'll get to more of Hylia later. Let's focus on the Triforce right now, because this is basically the symbol of the gods in the Zelda universe, as we know. Point. What was Triforce? Should be Dark Triforce, there you go.
Dark Triforce.
Yeah, okay. Up, 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 down, up, up, up. There we go. Okay.
Why does it have
What
an
about
A?
the fact that there is more than one Triforce? Mind blown. Anyway, by the way, spoilers for pretty much everything but Breath of the Wild. I should probably have mentioned that earlier. The only reason I won't spoil Breath of the Wild is because I don't know anything about it.
They are lazy.
Spoiler alert!
Yeah. Okay, anyway, so, we know that apparently the Kingdom of Lorule, which is another parallel world to Hyrule, because there's lots of parallel worlds apparently.
The parallel
Why not?
transportation.
Yeah, why not? They need another place to give us. Personally, I just think Lorule is an overglorified dark world, but whatever. It is apparently its own kingdom, and it had its own Triforce. But then they destroyed it because people were fighting over it, much like people fight over it in Hyrule. Apparently, breaking the Triforce and destroying it is a bad idea. Because when the gods basically go, here's our power, use it, and then you go, nah. Apparently the gods aren't happy about that.
Get out the hammers.
Yeah. So, an interesting point though is that Princess Hilda of Lorule does state that she knows that the Triforce of Hyrule is based on such virtues as power, wisdom, and courage. The funny thing is, we don't know if these correspond to Lorule. Is Lorule also made up of power, wisdom, and courage? We don't know. And honestly, we probably never will know, because I'm not sure what else they're going to do with Lorule. But I feel like the fact that they introduced a second Triforce is kind of like a big bombshell that I really hope they touch on again someday.
Cowardice, stupidity,
Foolishness.
and fear. Fear, weakness, and cowardice would be the three principles. What a way to rule a country!
Well, we do know that Ravio is a coward, apparently, so, you know.
Yes, very.
Anyway,
He still
and also really likes money.
And, well, I guess Hilda was kind of stupid in destroying the
Well, she didn't do that. So, anyway, here begs the question. Apparently you can destroy the Triforce.
How?
Yeah, I mean, they just say that they broke it. Well, here's an interesting thought. White dress Zelda. Yeah, Zelda white dress. There you go. So, Hylia, the goddess that was put in charge of the Triforce. The Triforce itself cannot be used by the gods, apparently.
Go figure.
Go figure. Yep. Just like apparently the Master Sword cannot be wielded by the gods, even though it was basically crafted by them. Whatever.
Actually, it was broken and recrafted.
Something like that. Yeah, it depends on if you're looking at the game and manga or whatever. Anyway,
Master
so-
Sword, too OP. Not most
Yeah, it got nerfed.
Sometimes your new magic weapon is character development.
Yeah.
Alright, so Hylia decided after a great battle with Demise, we'll get to that later, who wasn't fighting for the Triforce, decided that she was going to shed her divinity and be reborn as a human girl, who we know as the first Zelda, chronologically in the timeline. Even though there's a Princess Zelda the First mentioned, like, way down the timeline.
Well, she technically wasn't even Princess Zelda yet.
Yeah, she wasn't technically a princess at this point, but she was a freaking goddess, apparently. So we know that, apparently, the fact that the goddess Hylia was reborn as the first Zelda in Skyward Sword, apparently this probably explains why the royal family has such, like, power and magic in their blood, even without the Triforce of Wisdom. Just saying. So, we know that basically the descendants of our first Zelda here have basically divine blood. They are descendants of Hylia. Could explain why the royal family would be capable of destroying the Triforce if they themselves have divine power. Question: does Lorule Zelda goddesses that came down and decided, hey, we're going to make everything but dark.
Sounds like it. Lolia.
See, it turns out that after they left, they just went through an emo stage, made it again.
Yeah.
All the props to them.
Yep. So the legend goes. Anyway, so again, it's a question to ponder. I don't have an exact answer for that, but it is interesting. Does Lorule have things like her grace? Do they have their own Hylia? Do they have, I mean, obviously they have Hilda in terms of like their current princess, but we don't know if that was like a back and back and back thing like it was for Zelda. But then again, it's just a theory.
God, no.
It's a theory. I know the theory. Thanks for the panel, everybody. The panel's over. Everybody can go
Perhaps
home.
you could use that wish to destroy it.
That actually is an interesting point, because he says, so, and for those of you who didn't hear that, if the Triforce can apparently grant any wish, maybe a wish is to destroy it. Seems kind of counterproductive for the Triforce, but Triforce itself cannot differentiate between good or evil, or it just doesn't care.
I mean, it wished another Triforce into existence.
Exactly. Hyrule's Triforce was able to create another Triforce.
Yeah.
It had a baby.
A baby Triforce.
It had a baby Triforce. So, again, that brings up another
Oh
point.
God.
Is it able to create, could we just just keep creating Triforces? Or is it because of the fact that that was a parallel world that did not have a Triforce and did have a void that needed to be filled?
There's too many questions. Also,
Yeah.
I want to make a point.
Lowell left us with a lot of questions and
Only a
no
handful of
answers.
people may know the answer.
Someone whose
Maybe
heart's
one.
in balance probably wouldn't wish for dozens of Triforces. So,
But then Link and Zelda did.
they wish for one.
Yes. What were you saying?
I just want to make a point. I mean, in normal Hyrule, Ganon just single-handedly screws everything up because demise and that cycle, but we'll get to that later. In Lorule, apparently there wasn't like one bad guy. It was just one person who went, I want the Triforce. No, I want the Triforce. No, I want the Triforce. No, I want the Triforce. You know what? No one gets the Triforce. We're done.
Done.
If you guys can't play nice, then no one can have it.
Wasn't that part of the history of Hyrule though? They just didn't quite escalate that quickly.
Yeah, basically we
They
know
sealed
that
it within the sacred realm
Yeah.
instead of destroying it.
people thought it was a good idea to fight over the Triforce, and then bad things happened to them.
Like everything in video games, ever.
Yeah.
Exactly. Video games 101. How to video games. How to video games. How to video games.
Okay. All right. So. Back up. Hylia, True Force, destruction of the Triforce. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we already got that. Okay. So let's talk about some of the other Hyrulean deities that we see. We already talked a little bit about Hylia. She's so pretty, isn't she? Yeah, Hylia did a lot of stuff apparently, and was again kind of the caretaker of Hyrule, mostly from, if you want to pull up the eyes.
He has scales.
Yeah, he has scales and his hair is on fire.
Dun dun.
Yeah. I really hated fighting him in Skyward Sword, I'm just going to say that, because of like the
Except for
chance
how to beat him.
it takes, yeah.
Oh, it took me forever to figure out how to beat
It took me forever to figure out you can use a lightning to charge
Me
your
too,
sword.
me too.
Oh my god. That was like
Not as much as I hate the Imprison, though.
Yes!
At least the imprison was cuddly.
Fire doesn't work, he is fire.
Apparently Link doesn't think about that.
It's not my thinking.
9 out of 10, too much water.
Alright, so, Demise decides, we don't know exactly what he is, we know he's a demon king, we know that he apparently doesn't like Hylia, and he wanted the Triforce for himself.
Did he feel betrayed?
What?
I can't remember. Did he feel betrayed or something? That's why he started it?
Yeah, I mean, we're not given much in terms of like, folks,
If you're talking, we can't hear the panel.
don't make me put you in timeout.
We'll just make you listen to a naughty soundtrack for 3 hours. Even
Anyway,
after we leave the panel, we'll just like push you in a corner and just.
make you listen to it. Alright, so anyway, Demise here. We know that he is obviously very powerful. He got into a clash with Hylia with his army of demon monsters. Where'd he get him? This is Farrar's fault. Dang it. Yeah. Now, we don't know for sure whether Demise is a god himself, but he does at least have power to rival them, which is another interesting point, that apparently non-divine beings can rival the divine.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, that's the whole thing of, he wanted the Triforce, he wanted to conquer Hyrule. Or the land that would become Hyrule. Hyrule did not exist at this point. Well, it did, but it wasn't a kingdom yet.
Screw the rules, he's on fire.
Yeah,
In other words, he's basically flaming hair Kratos. With scales.
Yep. So, Hylia and Demise fought a great battle, with Hylia having her chosen hero at her side, which we can assume was the first Link, so to speak. The first Link in the line.
Wouldn't that be the missing link?
Yes. That is our missing Link, yes. We have heard of him, but we haven't actually seen him. I'm not sure if I want a game focusing on the war with Demise, but...
Hyrule Historia has a short comic.
Yes, it does. Yes.
But it's not canon.
I know, but they
Yep.
said, and
Yeah,
I
he is. Except he dies. Whoops.
To be fair, he single-handedly fought a demon lord in his arm.
Yeah. So, eventually, Hylia's hero and Hylia herself were able to seal Demise within the sealed grounds that basically seemed to be at the center of their land at the time, after she decided that it was a good idea to gather up all the humans and shoot them up into the sky on a rock to protect the Triforce. Why she left Kikwi's, I don't know. Because apparently humans are too weak to fight Demise, but little plant things that the best thing they can do is hide.
They're biding their time until the war strikes.
Yeah, I guess
The Kikwi's
so.
are Canada. Always waiting. Always waiting.
I mean, their sacred treasure is a slingshot, so...
Very true. Unfortunately.
Yeah. So, Demise gets stuck in the ground, apparently. Good place to put him, I guess. Apparently, Hylia and her people have things about putting, like, demonic things under their living establishments. Yeah. Demise got grounded, yes. So, Demise gets stuck. He has a ceiling spike in his forehead. I can understand why he probably wouldn't be too happy about that. He takes the form of the imprisoned, which I forgot to grab an image of. But you probably already know what he looks like if you've played Skyward Sword.
That evil, annoying thing with white toes and scales.
Yep, squishy toes.
Very
Now,
I
we
like Fire
know
Emblem
that
Hyrule
the
Warriors.
ceiling spike is supposedly there to keep Demise in prison until until the hero that Hylia chooses can come back again and defeat him once and for all. Demise, even in his unawakened form of the imprisoned, was able to break out of that multiple times. Thanks, Hylia! So apparently, Zelda, once she realized that she was Hylia... It burns! Where's my co-band? Alright, anyway, so, back to business. So, like I said, Demise is basically sealed away. Supposedly his soul has been sealed away, and he sends Girahim to go and resurrect him.
That thing was so creepy.
I bought my still.
I have a love-hate relationship with him, but that's neither here nor there. So, but again, apparently missing at least part of his soul, needing the soul of the goddess herself in order to totally come back, he is still in an imprisoned and basically sealed state, able to break out multiple times, even though Link, with Hylia's goddess sword, managed to keep putting him back in the ground.
And bombed.
Yeah, and bombs, and the Crusader. I didn't know bomb flowers came that big. Yeah. So, we know that Demise is really strong then. His will is very strong, again, apparently able to rival even Hylia's. Now, we don't know that Hylia is as powerful as the golden goddesses themselves. Are all gods and goddesses on the same plane, or are there kind of like a hierarchy of them? It seems to be that the golden goddesses are at the top. Maybe Hylia is kind of like a little bit lower and like still a goddess,
Tier 2.
but you know, not as strong.
I think she's tier 2, the dragons would be tier 3.
Yeah, something like that. So, Demise gets defeated by our first hero, Link, that we actually play as, with the help of Phi, the goddess's messenger, basically. And then he decides that, oh, well, you know what? I'm going to give you Ganondorf. My hatred is going to be continuously reborn in an endless cycle. He gets sealed away in the Master Sword, because why not? And then,
Better seal than the
you know, yeah, apparently a better seal than, you know, the seal
and
fight.
it's still strong against evil.
Yep. So then they decided that eventually we're going to have Ganondorf show up. But we're not here to talk about Ganondorf, we're here to talk about stuff like this.
Papa Granite, or Ganondorf.
Yeah. Papa Gan.
Come, Daddy. Oh,
No!
Please, no.
Oh my!
Okay. So, that about does us for, like, you know, the major deities of Hyrule. They mentioned the gods and everything, but of named and mentioned, basically we have the golden goddesses, we have Hylia, we have Demise, assuming that Demise is on the same level as basically the divine beings. However, there is the mention of the goddess of the sand in Ocarina of Time, and we've got some pretty artwork here of the spirit temple, which seems to be kind of basically a temple to the goddess of the sand. We don't see this anywhere else. Seems to probably be a goddess that is worshipped by desert dwellers like the Gerudo. Probably. Don't know exactly what her role and things are, maybe because she's really not elaborated on. However, she is usually shown with having a snake, serpent of some kind. And can you give the arbiter's stone, please? Okay, so spirit temple.
Oh, wait, that's
Not
not.
Demise. Not
But
Demise. Go away.
just look at that face.
There we go. However, in Twilight Princess, we see a statue very similar to the one in Ocarina of Time. We can't confirm this is the goddess of the sand, but it probably is, considering same position, same snake motif, and in a desert temple. Now, the Arbiter's Grounds in Twilight Princess, we are pretty sure this is not the Spirit Temple, because they have very different architecture, and also prison. Yeah. The Arbiter's Grounds was created basically as a prison for Hyrule's most heinous criminals, and they were sentenced directly to the underworld, that we find out later is the Twilight Realm. So why is there a statue of this goddess of the sand in a prison where they sentence criminals to death by basically sending them straight to the afterlife, supposedly?
Maybe she's a god.
Because sand is very unpleasant.
Yeah.
It's porous,
Again,
it gets
maybe
everywhere.
this could be, maybe the Arbiter's Grounds was, because the Arbiter's Grounds themselves also holds basically several, basically the pillars surrounding it bear the crest of the Six Sages. So, yes, I mean, they seem to, yes, that's where they put the Mirror of Twilight, that's where they decided that they're going to send people who did bad things to, a bad place. That's where they tried to execute Ganondorf after, basically, Link went back in time in Ocarina of Time to warn Zelda. Split timeline theory. I love it and I hate it at the same time.
3 timelines.
Yeah. 3 timelines, I don't think anybody saw that coming. So, we know that Ganondorf, again, was apparently one of these heinous criminals that was supposedly sentenced directly to the underworld, except they tried to stab him first, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the goddess of the sand here. So, could she have something to do with that? Maybe she was kind of a bit of while Nairu was supposedly kind of a goddess of law, perhaps the goddess of the sand was associated with, essentially, order, punishment, judgment.
Justice!
Justice, yeah. Again, interesting thought. Just the association, because this is a very, pointed thing in the Arbiter's Grounds. Why did they suddenly decide they're going to put this statue, that again, is very similar to that of the goddess of the sand that we see in Ocarina of Time?
It's in the middle of a desert.
Because it's in the middle of a desert, because it looks cool, because they needed a motif, I don't know.
It's Nintendo.
It's Nintendo, yep. This is not Square Enix.
It could be
Oh, keep
240.
Alright, so that basically takes care of Hyrule, but what if we go to some of the other realms, like, say, Termina? Where we have not 3, but 4 guardian deities, the 4 giants.
That leg game, though.
No!
That leg day. What about armband and back day?
They skip that. They are just leg.
Yep.
Just leg.
Yep.
Leg.
They're not even back, they're just the face.
So, basically, the very missable lore of Termina that's given to us by Angie's grandmother tells us that the 4 giants were originally living among their people in one world, then decided that they're going to take 100 steps north, south, east, and west to the 4 worlds of Termina, and they're going to keep Pok down in the middle because Pok down. So they say that apparently they're going to go to sleep, that they will watch over the people, and if something happens, then they find themselves on the brink of calamity, that they should just go and call them, hey, yo, giants, masked kid doing bad things, help.
Play the oath to order.
Yep.
The oath to order.
However,
What they like to tell you is that you're going to need somebody from the outside world who can travel through time to fix things, because there's no way you're going to do it in the actual timeline, and we just feel lazy.
okay, so, Majora Mask. So these are guardian deities of this world. How the heck was the spirit of a mask able to imprison them then? Again, we know very little about Majora's Mask other than the fact that apparently it was created by a dark tribe that is otherwise not really elaborated on, and then they decided that they were going to create this mask for their hexing rituals. But again, we don't know exactly what this is, and we know that apparently there is a great spirit inside the Majora's Mask that generally just known as Majora. Yes?
Is the manga considered canon because it does tell you where that mask
The manga isn't usually considered canon just because it is an interpretation of the game, basically. Like, I know the whole thing with like that beast that
the fierce deity carves it out of the beast's shell.
Yeah. So again, the manga isn't generally considered canon. Like even the Skyward Sword manga in the Hyrule Historia, questionable because of the fact that they forged the Master Sword, even though you're forging the Master Sword in Skyward Sword.
I think they broke the Master Sword, but the Master used and forged the God Sword.
No, they specifically forged the Master Sword. You can tell by the design and everything. But anyway, so we get Majora's Mask, we get Majora itself, and Majora is apparently basically a proprietor of Chaos and Calamity. Annoying, yes. Who is, basically hell-bent on causing mass destruction. Is capable of possessing people that put on the mask, whether it's because of the fact that the Skull Kid had a very weak will, probably, but either way. Again, the fact that apparently through this mask's power, it was able to imprison the guardian deities, the 4 giants of that world. And then apparently turn them into bosses, or at least create the bosses and then go, here's your face, there's a giant, one of the deities is imprisoned in it. Have fun.
Have a face. You don't have a face. Your face doesn't look good, so I got you another face.
Down. Just above the one that you're on right now. Up, yep. But we have one more piece of this puzzle, the Fierce Deity's Mask.
Yeah.
Deity is in its name, so we can assume that the spirit within it is probably some sort of god, of some sort of deity. Yep. So, I love this artwork, by the way, that they did for Majora's Mask 3D. Now, the Fierce Deity's Mask, another thing that is very not elaborated on in Majora's Mask, because of the fact that we know apparently it has very dark powers. They question whether it is as bad as Majora when you first receive it, but...
Majora.
But again, other than that, we really don't know. There's several theories on there about what the Fierce Deity is, where it came from. It could very well have been imprisoned in that mask by the Skull Kid and Majora's Mask, like the other deities were, like the 4 giants. And why he decided he was going to give this to, Link.
He needs a mask to fight.
He needs a mask to fight, yep.
But it makes you wonder, if it was sealed within the mask, why is it sealed within? Makes you think, why does Majora have to fear deity?
Yeah. We know that Majora's Mask does basically say that, when Link is wearing this mask, he is the bad guy. Now, we also know that Majora probably isn't very right in the head. But, you know, that's, again, neither here nor there. So is the fierce deity really a bad deity? A bad god, basically? We don't exactly know. Is it something that it was rather chaotic? And we know that it obviously is very powerful.
Putting the naughty child in his corner?
I guess, yeah, but but yeah, then we get things, but, so, yeah, what exactly was it? We know that this is a very powerful and dark mask. Now, is it that it actually is relatively benevolent, it's just really strong, or was it something along the lines of it is a wild spirit that was tamed by Link's, basically his heroism, the fact that he is the hero of time, and he still is the hero of time in Majora's Mask. So, again, we know that it's the only thing that is, like, basically, like, it plus the four giants are the only things in Termina that are referred to as deities. So we assume that the fierce deity, which is not mentioned anywhere else except for basically just the mask itself, we got to wonder, like, why is it imprisoned in a mask? There's a lot about Termina that, like, they throw at us and then they don't explain.
It's Nintendo.
I know. It's like, you know, they had less than a year to make a sequel to Ocarina of Time. It was at the end of the 64's lifespan, and then they're like, okay, here, we're going to reuse a bunch of assets and just make it better. I don't know, at least in terms of overall, I prefer Termina to Ocarina of Time's Hyrule, even though Ocarina of Time holds a special place in my heart. Now, we got one more thing that's mentioned in Termina. We have the Goddess of Time. Ocarina of Time, good. Apparently, whose powers can be called on with the Ocarina of Time, wielded by the Hero of Time, because of time.
Timeline.
We have the Master Sword that came from the pedestal of time, that was sealed behind the door of time, that was in the temple of time, and then is wielded by the hero of time who has the Ocarina of Time. Is that enough time for you?
Well, you did go on
Only one is Adventure Time, and held by the Doctor.
So, the Goddess of Time. We know that basically she is mentioned at the beginning of Majora's Mask when Link gets back the Ocarina of Time and learns the Song of Time, or remembers it rather. Because I don't know how he forgot it, considering how much he plays it. Not to mention Zelda was like, here, this reminds me of us. Goddess of Time. Again, we don't really know much about her. We just know that she was mentioned. It's a good question. Is she a deity of Termina? Or is she a deity that just kind of followed Link because she kind of was like, okay, maybe you might need a little bit of help. No, we're saying that this is not the Goddess of Time, no. We're just saying that, like, I don't have an image of the Goddess of Time, obviously. We just have, but we know that the Ocarina of Time is basically used not only for Link to travel, basically reset his 3 days, but the fact that he can speed up time, he can slow down time, he can, again, go back to the beginning of the first day when he got there. Like, I mean, this is, he controls time in Majora's Mask even more than he does in Ocarina of Time.
Well, I think that part of that is because, like, Majora's Mask is definitely more of a chaos-fueled environment where, like, pretty much anything can go down, it seems like. So, like, there's actually more set rules to govern what Link can actually do with the Ocarina in the Hero of Time, like the Ocarina of Time timeline, versus Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, and we don't know if Termina plays by the same rules as Hyrule, basically, in that sense, so maybe Link did have a little bit more freedom of what to do, essentially. Because, funnily enough, like, there is... Clocktown is, I think, a very distinct place in, like, the Zelda universe, just because it is very structured. Like, you have people that they follow set schedules. Time is very important there.
All the clocks.
Yeah, I mean, like, literally, it is Clocktown. It is at the center of the world. Now, those schedules don't seem to matter as much in, like, the rest of the, basically, the world of Termina, except at Romani Ranch, but that's because ghosts. Because ghosts from space. Why not?
Is your boat ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, who exactly is the Goddess of Time? We don't really know, because we know that, basically, again, she's just briefly mentioned. It seems to be that Zelda sort of sends the Goddess of Time with Link on his journey. Because, you know, if he finds himself in trouble, or, you know, if you happen to wander into an alternate universe where the moon is crashing, just saying. So, now the interesting thing, again, this is kind of something I've seen theory-wise, is that a lot of times when Fi is delivering a message to Link, from the goddess, Hylia does say basically, from the edge of time, I guide you. Is Hylia the goddess of time? Considering the fact that she basically seems to be the fact that she had great control of time. I mean, from the edge of time, that could just be kind of a phrase she's using, a saying, not necessarily saying that she's like outside of time. But the fact that obviously she was able to predict things of the future, she was able, probably the power of, there's the gates of time that Link uses to travel back in time to fight demise. Time. I'm saying time a lot.
It's like the biggest theme in the game.
Yeah. So, we don't know exactly, but it could be maybe Hylia is the goddess of time, or at least has a connection to her, because of the fact that, again, Zelda, who is in turn a descendant of the first Zelda, who in turn is the reincarnation of Hylia, has power over time itself. And we see that Zelda in Ocarina of Time is a sage, potentially the leader of the sages, and is theorized to possibly be the goddess of, or not the goddess, but the sage of time. Because she's never given a specific element, unlike the rest of the sages, forest, fire, water, shadow, spirit, light. And we do have something like the Temple of Time, but we don't really, so that's the only temple that doesn't have like a patron sage to it.
But it was also the Temple of Light, so.
Well, the Temple of Light is actually in the Sacred Realm. It's where where the Triforce was held. It's where the Chamber of Sages is.
That
So,
chamber,
yeah,
7 years.
yeah, 7 years of sleep in there.
And no atrophy.
Yeah.
Yay, magic.
Not only that, he grew.
Yeah.
Yeah, because magic explains everything. Yay.
I want to know who decided to pierce his ears while he was sleeping.
I like how they explain that in the manga.
She wanted to experiment. There's a lot more things that went on during that.
You need to
No.
stop.
His body was an autopilot under a disguise.
Anyway.
Well, and somebody had to sew him like grown-sized clothes. Like, yeah.
He's wearing pants.
Yep. Anyway, so again, there's a few things that may point to maybe Hylia is the goddess of time. Maybe she's not. Who knows? Maybe it's because honestly, if you're a goddess of time, it probably doesn't matter exactly where in time you are. You can probably just go like, okay, I'm gonna jump I'm just gonna throw my influence 2,000 years in the future and just mess with it a little bit.
Which would make sense from the edge of time, meaning yes, I am outside of time and I can see everything on the horizon.
The Ocarina of Time was a TARDIS.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Time it started.
In a sense, you could say she partially wrote the timeline because she placed herself in certain eras.
Right.
Thanks, Nintendo.
Yeah.
That explains
Zelda!
why.
One of the most convoluted, just everything.
I mean, she was here,
but
here,
so
here, and here.
entertaining.
I'm pretty sure those are going to be the most screwed up.
All
She's
right.
here. One time song. Here.
All right. Well, so that deals us with the goddess of time. We know that apparently she, shockingly controls time. But before we leave Termina, we've got one more thing we would like to discuss, and that is its relationship with Hyrule and the Golden Goddesses. So there's this east pillar, the pillar in Termina.
Four.
It's okay.
Four.
All right, so really low resolution, N64 era, sorry. But here's an interesting thing. We don't see the Triforce anywhere in Termina except on Link's shield, which makes sense because he brought it from Hyrule. And then on these statues in Kana Canyon and Stone Tower. However, why this? Can you zoom out again, please? Yeah. Now, granted, I don't know why it's really holding it down there, whatever this thing is. They don't really seem to, know or worship the golden goddesses in Termina. So why is it that there is this kind of just little Triforce thingy? And then there also, when you invert the Stone Tower Temple, if you're running across the blocks to get into the temple, you will see a design of the Triforce on those blocks, on the bottom of them. Interesting note, in Majora's Mask 3D, these are not there. No sign of the Triforce. Maybe they just got sick of people theorizing about things, so they're like, okay, here, just forget it.
We remember.
Zelda
Oh, we
is
remember.
We
Illuminati.
always remember.
So there's one of those things like, what do you consider canon? Is this canon? Is the remake canon? Does it matter? Probably not. But we're going to talk about it anyway. So again, like I said, like one mention of like the Triforce and the Golden Goddesses, and then it's just kind of like a bleh. Yes?
Isn't it a common theory that they're kind of standing on top of it, disregarding?
Yeah.
Disregarding, that's why it's on the bottom of the blocks.
Yep.
Is there a dog in here?
It's all right. We're towards the end.
You're all right. We're finishing up. All right. Now, we've got about 10 minutes left, so let's go to one of the other realms that we have mentioned is the soul. Yeah. This is the best I can do for the fact that we are mentioned that the Twilight realm has its own guardian deities. We never see them. They're mentioned once, but they're there. We know that the souls, S-O-L,
Sun for those who don't.
yes. Basically, these are the source of light and power in the Twilight realm. They seem to be associated with the fact that basically probably were put there by the guardian deities of the Twilight realm. Now, these orbs of light, basically, are capable of, they power the Palace of Twilight that you run through. There's all sorts of technology in there that we do not see in Hyrule that is powered by these things. Now, Midna, the Twilight Princess, spoilers.
It wasn't Zorda?
It wasn't Zorda. Does mention after the souls are basically absorbed into Link's Master Sword, that basically the guardian deities of the Twilight Realm are on his side. Well, apparently the guardian deities of the Twilight Realm couldn't stand up to Ganon's flaming spirit form, because he decided to house his power in Zant, because reasons. So, could it be that basically Ganondorf, with the use of the power of one of the Golden Goddesses through the Triforce of Power, was able to basically overthrow, not only basically through Zant, the monarchy of the Twilight Realm, but possibly their gods? Shows that maybe the guardian deities of the Twilight Realm are not as powerful as the Golden Goddesses, which might also make sense of why the heck the goddesses went, okay, look, we're going to send all of our bad people into your realm, deal with it. But again, or maybe it's that they have a rule, perhaps, that they can't interfere directly, which is why things like, again, the souls are basically absorbed into Link's Master Sword, that he then uses to basically purify the Twilight Realm from Ganondorf's influence. So maybe they just kind of need, maybe they need a link? No pun intended. But yeah, I didn't think that through, did I? So maybe they need some sort of catalyst to be able to influence things like that. Maybe they don't want to necessarily be just straight up divine intervention. Or maybe they're just, maybe they're not as powerful. Maybe they're like, okay, the Master Sword, it was crafted by basically by the gods. It is the blade of evil's bane. It can never be touched by evil hands. Human hands, otherwise I guess Link is something else. Who knows? So, that should about do it for what I've got, but does anybody have anything else, any questions in our last 5 minutes here or so? Or anything they would like to counter or bring up or?
Postulate away.
Not all at once.
For once the crowd is silent, I'm astonished.
The only time they're supposed to talk.
Right.
What about Wind Waker?
The Wind Waker. The fact that the Golden Goddesses decided it was a good idea to just bury their kingdom under an ocean. On purpose.
That's one way to do it.
So, apparently, despite the fact that the Triforce apparently can't differentiate between good and evil, they listen to the people and they're like, hey, so Ganondorf's kind of trying to destroy us again. There's no hero this time for some reason. Why not?
We're still trying
Help.
to find him.
And they're like, okay, you know what? You, and you, go to the top of that mountain and just kind of sit there for a while.
Bring lots of shelters.
Yeah, just go. Because yes, they decided that they knew that just sealing away Hyrule and all of its people would be a bad idea, basically destroying Hyrule, and decided maybe we shouldn't just drown all of our people.
They did drown a lot of people though.
They did.
Yeah.
They straight up drowned a lot of people.
Yeah. So again, they
Makes
do
you
seem
wonder
like.
though how many people, like how many other islands there are across the Great Sea.
Yeah, we know that there are 49 of them, basically, and then we know that if you go way, 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 way out, you'll eventually hit New Hyrule where we have spirit tracks.
Very far out.
Very
Three
far.
generations later.
Yeah.
So I want to make a point, this little point. So the one group of people who should be able to survive and don't need to evolve, the Zoras, turn into birds.
Yeah, that was
You
Gorons is funny! Let's
Goron.
rapidly evolve wings!
And the Gorons are still Gorons. It's like
Zoras were fresh water, and the Great Sea was salt water.
Actually, that's vice versa in Oracle of Ages. The river Zoras are enemies, the sea Zoras are friendly.
We demand answers.
Nintendo.
Yeah. Alright, I think you got a question or something?
Yeah, let's go give the softball question. What's your favorite Zelda games?
Honestly, I could not give you like a straight what is my favorite Zelda game because it tends to fluctuate a little bit. But I would say my favorite is a tie somewhere. Again, it fluctuates between Ocarina of Time, Skyward Sword, and Majora's Mask. Yay! It just kind of depends on like which one I've been playing a bunch lately. You know,
I think that.
Ocarina, Twilight.
Minish Cap is underrated. Yeah.
Where do the CDI games fit into this?
Let's see how
Oh,
In the trash.
Yeah, I think there's an interview somewhere with like the directors of the Zelda series. Somebody asked like, "Hey, so what's up with the CDI games?" And they're like,
What? Not speak of those.
"Yeah, we don't talk about that. It's a secret to everybody."
What are those?
You can find me on VM Cosplay Productions on Facebook and DeviantArt. Well, DeviantArt's Veneficus Magister, but
Very good.
yeah, there you go.